Previously on Riders of the Apocalypse.
Fight us on that one. If somebody's got some kind of fucking opinion.
You know what? If you turned us on, man, this is pissing you off. Well, man, hang on for a second, because you probably like it here in a little bit.
Mr. Jason.
Yes, sir.
What are we talking about today?
Well, we're talking about a movie that's kind of near and dear to my heart. Mm-hmm. It's called Kingdom of the Spiders, Brian.
Kingdom of the Spiders.
That's right.
I think we're in for a treat.
The movie absolutely terrified me when I watched it, and it was one of those. I'm sure you saw it because anybody of our age group, it was on, you know, the CBS or NBC Sunday night movie. I felt like it was on there a lot.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think it might have been on ABC.
Anything that was on NBC regular. I mean, my household, we were kind of my dad was very much an early adopter of technology, so we had cable very early on.
Oh, no shit.
And we had one of the first VCRs.
Mm-hmm. We were having some of this conversation last night that you and I are of a generation that saw the dawn of the home entertainment revolution, I guess you could say, in many ways. Like, because we were saying we were saying that for decades people experienced, you know, they had the same kind of technology coming in and out of their home. It was normally newspaper, phone on the wall, TV with 3 channels. For years it was that way. Right. We were kids. We saw that completely switch over. Think about it, when in the 70s or the early 70s, at least, before everyone had VCRs or cable, right? When you wanted to see a movie, it was in the theater, right? And to think of it that way, it just kind of blows your mind where we're at now. I know, because now our home theaters are almost better than going to a movie theater. Yes. But that's a whole nother 4-hour talk track. So to stay on track with Kingdom of the Spiders, 1977, fairly young still Bill Shatner. Right. This was post TV Star Trek, but pre movie Star Trek. Yes. So Shatner was still in this point, and many of the other actors from that show were still doing their thing. Like, well, I do this other thing too. Yes. You know, Nimoy was. I'm not Spock. I'm Leonard Nimoy too. He had In Search Of. Oh God, was he already doing In Search Of? I think so. Yeah. In Search Of was 70s, straight up like. Hey, we're gonna blow your mind. If you don't know about it, just go look it up. So Kingdom of the Spiders was on the NBC Sunday night movie all the time. Was this made for theatrical release first? That's the thing. We need to cheat a little bit and Google that, because it was rated PG.
Is it? Yes. Because I didn't even know if it was rated. Yeah. It's appropriately PG. I mean, and that's another conversation we'll have to have about the level of violence that can be in a PG movie back then was just incredible. But so I don't know. I don't think I saw it in 1977. There's no way, because I was an infant child. But I think I saw it in rerun style, probably at the earliest late 70s, early 80s. Okay, because it was very much a part of my subconscious growing up. It stuck with me because first off, from the moment I can remember, I've always loved monster movies, and I really like real monsters like spiders and animals and insects and things. So that's one of my favorite genres, is the whole nature run amok, right? Which was going crazy at this time because Jaws came out and started the explosion. Yeah, and that was, I guess, Jaws was 1975, I think. We could check. We can certainly check. But it's so. Anyways, I saw this movie maybe when I might have been 5 years old. That's 5 or 6 years old. And so it just stuck with me. And yeah, you're right. That little girl in there was right around my age, probably. So looking back on it now, it's a hilarious movie. It's very cheesy. It was actually a pleasure watching it with you recently to do that.
Wonderful moments.
I had not seen it in probably 20 years, and it still holds up in a different way now.
I think so too. I would say that the rewatchability of this movie is very high because as we watched it, and we'll definitely get into the plot synopsis here very quickly, but one thing that we did notice was that there were parts of it that were shot well.
Oh,
there was great backdrops, and the people that were shooting it knew what they were doing for sure.
Yeah,
and the actors were technically all very good because they were all TV people that had been on many, and the great Woody Strode, who had been on many westerns and things like that. He's in this movie. Yeah, of course, you got Shatner chewing up the scenery, and you got some beautiful ladies in there.
That's right, as Shatner would say.
That's right. That's slicker than so, and we can also
the quotes in this movie are wonderful.
Fantastic.
When you get in there with Bill, you're going to be in for some wonderful quotes.
Directed by John Bud Carlos.
Okay.
Who, by the way, had
a name Buddy.
That's probably. He directed a few other things, but he was, as it turns out, he worked on several other sets of like big movies.
Like
this
what?
guy. So
give me some.
The director John Bud Carlos. Let's see. He was also an actor. He did some stunt work. And he's got a stunt background. His filmography, he worked on movies like Memento.
Oh, wow.
As I'm sure is like a line producer or something. So let's see here. Awards. But let's see. While I'm looking for this, who are some of the other great people in this movie? I'm trying to remember the actress's name. We can look that up.
I don't know. But while you're doing that, I'll kind of go into. So watching our generation, I think, wound up seeing things probably way too young. I know the kids can see stuff now on YouTube and it's very hard to edit anything, but so you found something?
I did actually. So he directed a few other movies. Before this, he had directed Drag Racer, The Female Bunch, then Kingdom of the Spiders, then other films like The Day Time Ended, Mutant. And
Drag Racer is about a cross-dressing runner, isn't it?
He did stunt work on other movies like Last Resort, Death Dimension.
Ooh, Last Resort, one of my favorites.
Yeah, Candy Stripe Nurses. He did a stunt on there. I don't know what kind of stunt that was.
He might have done a stunt. Quote, stunt.
So the point is that these were all like, all of these people that were involved were like career people. They were Southern Californian, like TV people. Many of them had worked in stunts. There's just a bunch of other actors that had done westerns and things like that. And, there's times where you see, let's see, who else? I said earlier there was great. Tiffany Balling. She was huge and she did TV for years.
Okay. Which one is she?
She plays the scientist from out of town. She's from the big city.
So she's she's the one that William Shatner basically kidnaps in her own car, and he doesn't even know her.
Can we talk about that? Okay, give us a plot synopsis real quick of Kingdom Spiders, so we know what we're dealing with here.
Let's see if I can do this quickly. So this area, I guess in Arizona, I think is where it's shot and where it's supposed to be. They're using some kind of new pesticides on fields and crops.
Yeah.
And
this is like desert plains kind of like town in Arizona somewhere, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And anyways, the chemicals or whatever are getting into the insects and whatnot, and for whatever reason the spiders get affected and they just they grow into tarantulas. and now you have some farmers losing cattle to tarantulas, and that's how it kind of starts. And then Shatner is a veterinarian, but he seems like a cop. He's almost like a sheriff / veterinarian is what he's playing there.
He's just a man about town that really knows what needs to be done when it needs to be done.
Right. And he's got the whole town backing him up, and he's got, the actual police that know him well and share, they're just day drinking constantly. Genuine draft 6-pack in Shatner's hand almost the whole film.
I love this. I love what's going on. Yeah. They're trying so hard to make sure that he's a brush cutting man.
Sure.
That he can get it done. They show that to you when you first meet the character. They're on horses. He lassos a little calf. And he is with Terry Hansen, which, as we learn through some dialogue, is the widow of his brother who has passed away. And she is played by Marcy Lafferty, who was actually married to William Shatner.
That's what I had heard someone talking about this movie, and they mentioned that. I said, what mind blown. That was just, I mean, and their relationship in the film is absolutely hilarious.
I love it.
I mean, it's just,
I love it.
But finishing up the synopsis, so the spiders basically, from the pesticide, they grow out of control. They have these giant spider hills on this farm that basically they eventually take over the town, and the spiders are killing everyone. And that's really all you need. And then Shatner's running around and sometimes accidentally throwing kids into more spiders. You know that. I'll never forget. He's trying to rescue this little girl, like 5-year-old girl, and she's on this bed, and she's trapped. There's spiders on the bed and spiders on the floor, and he grabs her, and you think he's going to run out the door with her, but he throws her on the floor, and more spiders are covering her, and we don't ever find out what.
That is one of many mildly inexplicable moments in this movie, that there's otherwise, like, you know, competent things happening, and then somebody will make a decision that, what's up, buddy? And
we talked about the writing of this, the lines. It's almost like Shatner was like, move over, and just started writing his own lines, because it seems like it came straight from him. Some of these lines that it's just... it's wonderful.
You won't be with your brother's wife, but you take care of her like you were. Isn't that like buying the cow and giving the milk away?
You don't quit pestering me. One of these mornings, I'm going to show up and start milking that cow.
Well, just make sure your hands are warm.
Whoever wrote this, every woman in this movie pretty much is after Shatner's stuff.
So, okay, so that's interesting. Like, you know, he arrives to that ranch where the widow of his dead brother is living. He's coming out to just help out with stuff.
Right.
He walks up to her, and so she's like, what does she say? She says, you'll
just make sure your hands are warm. You know, she's like basically calling her a cow, and that he's going to, if she's not careful, he's going to creep in there and milk her. Oh, no.
With his crazy claw hands.
And she's very okay with it, to the point where she's like, just make sure your hands are warm, and you can milk me anytime.
Oh, man.
I'm just remembering the special effects in this. There wasn't a lot more than just the spiders being all over people, and some people covered in webs towards the end.
Right.
But there's that one scene where the woman is trying to get out of her bedroom, and it's kind of, the floor is covered in spiders, and she's kind of trapped in her bedroom. For whatever reason, she has just a hand cannon. It's like some kind of revolver, but it's a giant gun. And this is just some random character. And she's got a spider crawling on her hand. And what's the best option there? Well, you got to shoot that spider, right? You got to. You got the gun. You got the spider on your hand. She blows half her hand off, and she kills the spider. But, man, that effect is amazing. And I don't know why that's in there, because there's no other practical effect like that.
I know.
In the movie. It's the one, and you literally see half her hand blow off. It looks very good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very well done. It's almost Tom Savini-esque.
Yeah.
And it's and then that's it. That's all you get. She blows her hand off, and I guess she dies, but you don't see it goes to something else.
Right. It has to go somewhere else.
Away.
Meanwhile, another movie. So she blows her hand off, because I guess that's how you get the spider off your hand.
I don't know what.
Outside of just like waving it.
The choices and I mean, thank God they made those choices, because we wouldn't be sitting here today laughing about it. But
oh, man,
just unbelievable.
So that first everything kind of kicks off because that first steer or the prize winning calf on Woody Strode's farm. Mm-hmm. Woody Strode's character is married to the character that blew her hand off later in the movie.
Oh, that's okay. That's his wife. I was forgetting. Yep.
And so his prize calf is sick. What's going on here?
Yeah, you can't.
And then so Shatner is called out to his farm,
of course,
to make
he's
sure
the vet /
to see what's happening.
Everyman kind of thing.
Yeah. And so he goes out there and he realizes like, man, this cat here, let's bring her in. Cat's really sick. I don't know. I'm going to have a beer.
Of course.
So, and of course, Woody Strode is very much like, it's my prize calf, man. Can't have anything happen to her.
Right.
The calf keeps getting sicker. It dies. They send the blood work off to the lab in the big city. The blood work interests someone in the big city so much that she comes to the small town looking hot, looking sharp, looking like she's from the big city. And, she's already had a minor run-in on her way into town with William Shatner. She doesn't know who he is yet.
Yeah.
She actually goes and talks to the mayor. And the sheriff, because she knows where they are, apparently. She arrives.
They're all in one hat. They're all standing on the. They're all just. I mean, middle of the day. Is this a work day? I mean, they're all kicking it on the front porch of a house. What looks like a house. Just chilling in Arizona with a 6-pack of beer. I mean, Bill's over off in the out of the shot when she approaches,
right?
But the sheriff and I guess his deputy, right? Or did you say it was the
mayor that had come up and was giving them a hard time about there's a problem, like, hey, wait a minute, you're talking about shutting down the county fair until we figure out what's going on here. That's a big source of revenue. Because Jaws just came out a couple of years ago.
And and where did that line come from? Well, shut down the beach, Jaws, shut down the fair, Arizona. I mean, let's see if we can't just go walk this through exactly. And we don't have to build a mechanical shark. I got this spider wrangler guy.
That's a whole story unto itself.
He's expensive.
I love it.
Apparently $10 a spider.
And this is true, right?
Absolutely.
There's a spider wrangler that had a bunch of tarantulas.
There was multiple spider wranglers, apparently,
no shit.
And they got as many as they could. I mean, I guess a few thousand tarantulas. And I think what the deal was they were not allowed to – they could not really kill these tarantulas. Right. So, I mean –
don't kill the tarantulas.
Shatner does a wonderful scene where he dances he almost prances through this, sidewalk covered in spiders.
Right.
I don't think he steps on a one, and it's beautiful. I mean, he's like a ballet dancer, just kind of floating across, and these spiders are like, "Thanks, man." Just
because this is full tilt like spider attack. They're everywhere now.
They're everywhere,
and so he's got to run out of the house and get to somebody else. But instead of just scrunching through these things and just running full tilt. No, he's avoiding them.
He tap danced all the way through the last half of the movie. It's amazing. It is.
It's almost an Ed Grimley-esque kind of like. Dun, 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 dun.
But back to the scene where she's the city woman is looking for him, and she walks up the porch. The sheriff. Everybody's wearing cowboy hats.
Right.
Everybody's got a beer.
Yes. Because that's what these guys do.
And this was High Life in the can. We're talking pull tab, 77.
They're not dicking around.
Not dicking around.
Yeah. You couldn't be a beer lover really in the 70s.
Shatner's literally 5 feet out of shot, out of the frame. She can't see him,
because he's not in frame.
He's just not in frame. So she's up there asking the sheriff, where's I don't even know Shatner's name in the film, the character name, but
Rack. They call him Rack.
Oh my God, yes, Rack.
They call him Rack.
That is just
Rack Hansen.
Rack Hansen. Perfect. That's what I'm naming my firstborn son.
Right. Why don't you just call him
Hanger,
Dirk Pheromone or something like.
So yeah, she's up there and they're just chugging beer. This is probably I swear it's probably 10 o'clock in the morning still.
Right. This is when the mayor comes up to him wearing his cowboy hat, starts giving him guff about the county fair.
Right.
Rack, what's this I hear about you planning to quarantine the Colby place? With the county fair only 3 weeks away, this is mighty serious business, man.
And then Shatner's response is, he had a nice long pause, looks him in the eye and says, buddy, you need a beer. And it's like,
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, you're right.
Like,
and he just takes
Stop talking for a second. Chug this, chug a High Life with me, and then let's talk.
And the mayor calms down immediately.
Yep. He just needed that. Well, you could see his hand was kind of trembling. The guy's got a problem.
Daddy needs his medicine. Yeah, and then she arrives.
And it looks. Let me jump in. It looks like clearly they are seriously drinking this beer. I mean, it's like Shatner. One request was, I'm drinking actual beer. Mm-hmm. I want Miller High Life in the can. And I'm going to drink it, and I'm going to act. And they're just like, whatever you want, Mr. Shatner.
That's right.
You got it.
I wonder if was he one of the producers on this
I don't
thing?
know. Anyway. But he's got that six-pack almost hooked into his belt loop or something. I mean, it's just kind of dangling.
He just sort of casually has it hanging. Like he doesn't give it. He doesn't care.
Six-pack. Yeah, and he's handing them to everybody. And if you don't take one, I'm sure he'd be offended. but that's when she's like, where is he? And the guy literally he's right over there. And 5 feet away, Shatner's still not turning around. He's kind of got his arm up and just looking off into the Arizona distance, beer glimmering in his hand.
Steely-eyed Chuck Yeager style.
Oh yeah.
Into the blue horizon.
Yeah.
Ready to.
He doesn't hear any of this going on behind him.
He doesn't need to.
No. So she finally, go ahead.
I love her delivery there. It's just all about, hello, can you tell me where I can find Mr. Rack Hansen? They're like, well, lady, he's right over there. 5 feet away.
Yeah.
As you said, gazing upon the Arizona, scrublands. And she's like, oh, and walks over to him. Hello, I am, the scientist from the big city that's here to look at your shit because it's really disturbing. It's high amounts of spider venom.
Right.
Pardon me for intruding, ma'am, but what exactly did that calf die of?
Venom. A massive dose of venom.
Are you trying to tell me that calf was brought down by a snake bite?
No. I'm telling you that calf was brought down by spider venom.
And he's like, what are you talking about, lady?
Do you need a beer?
Because I think you do. And by the way, what do you say? What did he ask her?
This is wonderful. You brought this up. He basically ignores, or seems like he's ignoring everything that she's talking about, and he's just kind of eyeballing her. Yeah. And then he, I think one of his first lines is,
"How would you like to have some dinner tonight?"
Well, I probably will. I'll see you in the morning.
Right.
That was her blow off. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to eat some dinner. It's definitely not going to be with you. I'm not like every other woman in this town that's just all about it. Okay.
Yeah. I've got things to do, buddy.
Maybe later on in the film.
Once you prove yourself to me.
But yeah, I'm going to have to warm up to you.
That's right. That's right.
I'm from the big city, so you can't. I got to see that Mercedes over there with the red leather interior.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's mine.
Yeah. That's right.
I work for a living.
Yeah, she doesn't need a man. Guys.
Not at all.
Okay. So that's very important. Okay, so she takes off and she's doing her thing, and
yeah, but don't forget the best quote in the movie. We rewound this quite a few times in hysterics.
She takes off. She's like, "Good night." Yeah. And it's like we're not.
And they're all just all three of them eyeballing her as she walks away with their beers. Woo! And just kind of. You can almost hear the inner monologue cat calling that's going on with these guys, and then Shatner says the beautiful line.
He nudges the sheriff. Mm-hmm. They both have a beer,
right?
And he just does that thing where he puts his boot up on like one of the fence posts or something.
Yeah,
nudges the sheriff. He Captain Morgan's it. Nudges his friend sheriff because they're buds,
Oh, sure.
And he just goes slicker than that's ass, didn't she? I say that because we think that's what he said.
Yeah, it was such a fast line, and
as a matter of fact, let's try to listen to it right now.
Go for it.
Slick as a gnat's ass, Hitchy.
Okay, let's listen to it one more time.
Slick as a gnat's ass, Hitchy.
What do you think he said?
And we did not read the script. I think he's saying slicker than a gnat's ass, ain't she?
Yeah.
but it kind of goes like, slicker than Nat's ass, ain't you?
It's like Nat's ass, ain't you?
I mean, but we were Brian, we were trying to break this down afterwards. Maybe we were overthinking
Our minds were blown.
But a gnat doesn't have an ass, and it wouldn't be slick anyways.
Probably not.
So I was just like really running this through my head over and over again. I didn't know, but that came so out of nowhere. I don't think anyone wrote that. That had to be Bill
doing his thing,
rolling. I mean, because he'd had half a six pack already, I think. And by this time, but that is what really made the movie for me. That and a couple other lines, but man,
oh man.
And when I was a kid, I remember going back when I'm watching it as a kid. None of this. You don't notice any of that. Mm-hmm. You think that that's normal behavior for adults. Everything that's going on, all you're thinking as a kid is, "Oh my Lord, I hope I never see a tarantula." In person. Right. I hope that the fact that the tarantulas are all over the floor and by the end just they cover the town. Yeah, there's probably a tarantula every foot and a half by the time they're done. So many tarantulas. It's insane.
And the tarantulas are fighting back.
They're dumping them on people. By the end of the movie, somebody's up above, with a pail full of tarantulas, just dumping them on people's heads.
People are running past, and they've got like plastic tarantulas on them, I think. And,
I think so.
God. Wow.
The ending's pretty good with the fact that the cars are wrecking. I mean, the town is just bonkers now, and everybody's just wrecking into each other, and
it's causing mass hysteria.
It's chaos.
And because
I love it.
Because the fair is in town.
That's what it is.
It's got so many people.
They weren't going to cancel that damn fair
because of all the revenue.
You can't
for the town.
It's kind of like Bonnaroo. What is it, Manchester? Right down the road. You can't cancel Bonnaroo for some daggone spiders.
No, you can't.
And we're not doing it. And you're not going to tell us.
I don't care what big city lady says.
No.
So the town is going apeshit now, and it's just going from bad to worse. And finally, they had to hold themselves up. I'm worried that we're getting a little too far ahead of ourselves, because there was one thing that happened in the film that completely astounded both of us, because pure logic would dictate maybe not only this character's behavior, and I'm talking about Walter Colby, who is the calf farmer, the rancher rather, played by Woody Strode. Yeah, he's the one whose calves are getting sick and dying. What's happening? It looks like it's a lot of spider venom.
Why is there a lot of spiders on them?
What are you talking about? What's yeah? So
what's a spider?
They've got two dead animals at this point. There's another one that's sick, and they're all on the farm, or they're all on Woody Strode's ranch, trying to ascertain what's happening.
Well, and then, are you going with the scene where it's like the second or third, full grown cow, right, that is dead and covered in tarantulas. Yes, and so they're looking at it and they're horrified. This has gone on. We're almost midway through the movie, right?
Just about.
It feels like it was. Yeah. We've talked.
The mystery is that the game is afoot.
Shatner has talked with this farmer multiple times about this thing that's happening with the spiders, and
they start realizing the spiders are an element in it. But at first, his cats are getting sick, and then the big city scientist lady says it's a lot of spider venom.
It's a lot of spiders,
and they're like, "How would that be?"
Well, the best thing that I know you're leading into this. They're looking at maybe the third cow that's dead, and they're on the farm. And the farmer and his wife, and again, what's his name?
Walter Colby.
So he's standing there with his wife in the background behind Shatner and the big city.
Tiffany Bowling. Okay. Diane Ashley.
Wonderful.
Dr. Ashley.
Dr. Ashley. We'll call her Dr. Ashley. And they can't for the life of them find out, where all these spiders are coming from.
What's happening?
And then all of a sudden, just standing behind him, the farmer is just like, well, I don't know if this helps anything, but there's a giant mound of spiders just right over here if you want to come take a look at that. And just mind blown.
Yeah.
Because you would think that Shatner at that time would just turn around and hit him in the face and just, are you son of a bitch? I mean, it's like,
and they take it very well. They're like, yeah, we should probably go check that out.
Let's go look at this giant mound of spiders.
In real life, that person would say, I wonder if it's this huge mound of spiders that I found. Everybody else would immediately turn to him and be like, wait a minute, what did you say?
Right, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry?
Now, we're 3 dead calves in. I think some humans had died already. And you're telling me now, like 3 or 4 days later, that you've got a giant mound of tarantulas somewhere on your farm? Well, okay.
And the first report of possible spider venom was met with disbelief.
Imagine if everybody just kind of threw up their hands. Oh. All right, let's take a look. Jesus, Frank. Jesus. You know, like why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you tell us that?
And then when the next scene, they go and see this spider mound. I mean, and it is not just a little anthill.
No.
This thing's clearly obvious that the source of the spiders.
Right.
It really is.
And why do we know that? Because it's not only a mound that's high and wide. There's spiders all over it.
There are spiders crawling in and out of it, and not just spiders, tarantulas. Exact same spider that is all over your dead cows from the beginning of the damn movie. Now, granted, you wouldn't have much of a film if in the very first scene, when the first cow dies, the farmer's like, oh, by the way, it might be because this mound of spiders over here. You want to take a look. And then they burn the spider mound and everybody's safe. You know, and then roll credits. So I get it, but that was just hilarious. The way he's just standing in the background with his wife, the farmer, you know, very upset, losing all this livestock.
Right. Humans
are dying too. And, well, let's check out the spider hill over here.
Yeah, definitely a moment where, you know, everybody in real life would be like, dude, are you serious? Yeah,
I mean,
without a doubt.
You'd be furious. I mean, what if that was your uncle that died first, you know?
Yeah.
The guy they find in the it's like a barn or something.
Yeah.
They find a guy
They
dead.
found a guy that's like partially, he's almost cocooned.
Or
it
no,
looks like.
Was it the mechanic?
No, remember the mechanic got bit. He was the one of the first, like, God dang it. And then you're like, uh-oh. So something's going to happen to him, and it's going to, you know, along with the calves and everything, that's what's going to be like, it's this thing. And then you don't see him again. He doesn't like fall over like, you know, he doesn't like fall over dead.
Right.
He's just like, oh, that was crazy. And then they have some kind of interchange. And by the way, Shatner's not nice to people in this town.
No, he's not a nice guy.
No.
The thing is,
because that dude, the mechanic that we're talking about, came out and was like, hey, you want me to shabdoo? And then he's like, he turns around while he's pumping his gas. Like, what does he say? He's like, why don't you go sell a new tire?
Yeah. He's basically like,
go sell a tire.
Why don't you check my oil and I'll pay you. Get out of my face, you low life.
And he's like, he gives him that look like, whatever, man.
Yeah.
And so he goes to get a tire.
The guy's already miserable enough. I mean, he's running like a desert gas station.
Yeah. He has to just look around his surroundings and be like, this is about it.
Yeah.
So Shatner's shitty to him. He goes back to get the tire. He goes, ow. And then, you know, you see the tarantula run away. Mm-hmm. So it's like, this is going to be our first casualty, man.
Right.
After that, he just goes, strange or something, picks up the tire. It goes to another scene. I think that's when Shatner's actually driving behind and then catches up with the doctor in a Mercedes, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
And we're like, okay, so we'll be treated to this little interchange, which is crazy. We can talk about that because I think, you know, they're advocating that human trafficking is okay in this movie. But we never go back to the mechanic except for a little bit later in the movie where he literally walks out and is like, oh, this is crazy, you know, because the plane's flying around that's supposed to be crop dusting everybody.
He does show up again, and we were both like, why is he still alive?
Right. Other people have been attacked by the tarantulas, including the pilot of the plane that's supposed to be dropping the chemicals. He screams a horrifying...
The plane attack.
Yes.
He's in like is that
a biplane?
A biplane,
yeah,
right.
It's like old-fashioned
He's one
crop
of the guys
dusting.
that's dusting with this chemical, I think.
And so they get their revenge.
He gets it big time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He dies a screaming, horrifying, flaming death.
It's very difficult to fly a plane covered in tarantulas.
I would say so. I think that, you know, they might cover that in pilot training school now just for that reason.
Yeah.
Because that, you know, you got to think on your feet, man.
Yeah.
You know? But, yeah. So the the spiders kill some people outright, just about, it seems. And then there's others, such as our hero, played by William Shatner.
Well, you can't
Rack.
kill Bill.
He got bitten like
Literally.
big time during the big climb, where he's trying to rescue everybody, and he wakes up later like, oh, that was crazy.
Yeah.
Did they have antivenom or something?
So that this is where they're, by the end of the movie, they're all kind of trapped in this house, and and Shatner and some others, he's helping them board up the windows and everything. So now they're kind of using the elements of Night of the Living Dead.
Right.
Board up, you're trapped in the house, board up everything. A little more difficult with spiders kind of falling through the chimney and the roof cracks. But Shatner goes, I guess, he goes down in the basement. I think it was just a reason to get covered in tarantulas, but he goes down there to mess with a fuse box. I guess he was trying to get the lights back on or something. You know what I'm talking? Remember that?
Yeah.
So he goes down there, and that's when they're just dumping buckets of spiders on him. And it's so amazing because he's trying to act.
He's acting.
And you know how Shatner, he's just already overacting. But
he's acting.
Then he gets these spiders on him, and he clearly does not want to kill any of them. So he's trying to wriggle around but not shake them off, and he's just almost in slow motion. He gets to the stairs, and he's crawling up the stairs, and you can literally see that he's making sure each arm is not crushing a spider.
Right. Because these things are $10 a pop.
They're $10 a pop. He's got the spider wrangler off scene, off shot,
sweating, just
like sitting there going, doing the money sign, don't you dare. He's named them all. If you kill Caroline,
Mortimer's over there. I don't know what's going on.
So Shatner does get up the stairs, and then we get the wonderful shot of him stumbling into the kitchen, the kitchen full of the people there, with the spider on his cheek, biting him, and he's just slow motion acting. I am hurt.
Oh man!
And he just falls down, but you can't kill him.
Applause.
Yeah,
right. And then he wakes up after that.
Well, they put him on the they lay him like on that. There's like a bar or something in the middle of the kitchen.
Right.
They lay him on that, and he wakes up. He's fine.
I'm assuming, was there some kind of tense scene that was cut out, like where they're working like the blue vial, give me that stat or whatever. I don't know, whatever medical term. Clear.
I don't think so. No. I could be not remembering correctly, but
oh boy,
it just seems like he just kind of wakes up a few hours later and, all right, let me keep helping you folks.
Yeah. And so let me also take a look outside because it's the morning time. We've survived the wretched.
Before you get there, because I know where you're going. All
right.
I just thought of another scene where, he's got all these people he's trying to protect in the house. Just kind of, I think some of them are just random people from town that go into the house and, help him board it up. That scene where he's, for whatever reason, he's going into an attic, or he's trying to open an attic or something above on the ceiling, like a ceiling door,
right?
And he's on a step ladder, knowing that there's probably a shit ton of tarantulas up there,
right?
And the woman that's down below, kind of, I guess, helping him steady the ladder or whatever, he opens that door and they just dump a ton of spiders. They just dump like 20 spiders on this poor,
and the whole time you're like, don't do it.
Head.
Don't do it. Like, don't open it.
And he doesn't even apologize. No. Shatner's just like, brush it off. Suck it up. We got a job to do.
We got a job to do.
Anyways, but I wanted to make sure we hit that because but then back to, Shatner lives through the spider, multiple, probably 50 spider bites, and because he's Shatner.
Yeah.
And then
there's even a little like, special effects makeup on him to make, like he clearly has some spider bites. There's some wounds there. Mm-hmm. He's not looking 100%, but he seems okay.
Yeah. And then again, they go to the window as a group, and they just, they want to check out. I think it's the next day, maybe. That might have been it. Shatner sleeps it off, and he wakes up the next day, and they go and they pull the curtain back to look outside, and
oh man,
and it's just, when I was a kid, again, that scene, the ending. See, I had not seen a movie that ended tragically,
right?
In my life yet at this point. I'd never seen anything like it. And when they look out the window, and then you see just everything's covered in webs.
Yeah, it does this panning out shot where he first, looks out the window, and you just see white, and it's webbing, obviously, cobweb.
And it's clearly just a painting, but it's just.
And then, so what exactly. And you're panning back and back and back into an aerial shot of this entire town covered
in spiders,
with spider webs.
And then roll credits. And then
they win.
And then we get another wonderful. Peaceful Verde Valley. We haven't even talked about.
Let's talk about the music in this film.
That just a beautiful song.
So the song is, let's see, who did that song?
It is Peaceful Verde Valley, and I forget the artist. Check that again.
He was,
but he was a fairly popular, I guess, country singer at the time.
Dorsey Burnett.
Yeah.
He had kind of like it wasn't quite rockabilly, but there was definitely this kind of like, just this show businessy kind of almost a Californian version of the country. Like Buck Owens and those guys used to do the Bakersfield sound kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, but this is a little more straightforward, this particular song, but he's got a great voice. The guy can belt it out.
It is perfect for the movie and the time. And when I say perfect, I mean ridiculous.
Shining through the early spring, down in peaceful Verde Valley. Who knows what tomorrow may bring?
Okay, so listening to that, that makes me want to put on a jacket with flames and rhinestones on it.
Oh yeah,
and play a Telecaster and be on TV in the mid '60s. Yeah. And that's
It makes me want to.
Everything was in place for this
just
movie.
a nice whiskey on the rocks and just light up a stogie.
There's so many elements that's in place in this movie, or that's for this movie.
Oh yeah.
The iconic posters, they did several versions, but the logo on it with the Kingdom of the Spiders logo on the front poster, and also, in the opening credits.
Yep.
So that's
font
in place.
Was amazing back then. It seemed to be better back then. I don't know. I mean, I'm probably just being nostalgic, but the font, they really, and also the
rounded block letters and
the packaging of, again, to go to the once the VCRs came into every home, and then you had the video stores, that packaging, that cover art.
Oh yeah,
the box art of the movies.
Going to a video store back in those days.
That's how you sold a movie.
Yeah. Wasn't there some company that would literally greenlight movies based on the poster art that they were shown?
I'm sure there was.
There's some,
because even if the movie, you could have the most god awful thing that had nothing to do with the cover art,
right? And
people would rent it. I would rent it. Just for the cover art, and then you get it home and you're just pissed off. I mean, this has nothing to do with this movie.
Dude, but this movie was shot
Kingdom
well.
of the Spiders
it's got a great
delivered
theme
exactly
song.
what is on the cover.
I would say so.
No,
yeah.
It does exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's talk about that, actually.
Okay,
sure. Especially we're talking about, you mentioned before that this was part of a wave of kind of nature fights back movies.
Yeah.
The
reaction to Jaws' success and the Environmental Protection Agency. We talked about this a little last week.
Because that was fairly recent on the horizon at that time.
Right. And that was, it was, I think it was late 60s, early 70s when that was really going.
Yeah, and there was big pushes. There was a lot of like public service commercials that were actively encouraging people not to litter.
Was it Nixon that had
I think Nixon did. Yeah, it was under his administration, if I'm not mistaken.
That's crazy.
You know, guys, if we're wrong about that, please let us know in the comments below. But yeah, it was just a very interesting time. Like even in Tennessee, there was a big a local advertisement that was a public service announcement, and it was the whole Tennessee trash thing. Tennessee trash messing up the original ones were in the early 70s. They remade later ones to remember, hey, you know, remember this guy, you know, don't litter still. We don't. And I got to say, you know, they must have worked, because back in the day, I remember being little. I mean, that was like a regular thing. You'd always see like Pop Tops from soda cans everywhere, just littering the ground. And, you know,
well, and that was terrible. Like, not only did you have everybody's cigarette butts, which you still have that,
yes,
but you had almost always a pop top, because you actually popped those off for people who a lot of people probably don't know, never seen them.
That's right.
I honestly don't remember ever popping a top. I just was too young.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember that. So, and I think that was beer. Mostly, I guess, was canned.
Sodas also.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, soda. Like, I remember that.
But everybody would just throw. I mean, not everybody, but people just threw their Pop Tops, and then you got a Jimmy Buffett hit. You know, stepped on a pop. But you know, when you cut your heel, you do have to go back home.
Yeah, it's clear the party's
Honestly,
over.
I think that's bullshit. If I cut my heel and I'm in Margaritaville, I'm taping it up.
Yeah,
I'm taking another drink and I'm sucking it up.
That's right.
I'm not gonna.
The
Pop Top, really? I mean, what did it get
destroyed
infected?
your evening?
Did it get infected? I mean, put some alcohol on it.
Jesus,
you're drinking
man.
enough.
Get back out there.
Anyways, but the Pop Tops were everywhere. I couldn't imagine having to deal with those along with the cigarette butts, because they kind of do annoy me still.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
Anyways,
so that's what was going on in America at this time, you know. So people were really concerned about, you know, just the amount of pollution,
trying to be conscious of it.
Yeah,
thank God. And I think that it was more. I don't think it was it quickly became a political thing, right? Especially by the time the 80s, but I don't think it was just, you know, the wacky liberals that were trying to be aware and conscious of what we might be doing to the planet.
Yeah.
You know, that's a whole different thing. But you can definitely see a moment in time with films. And a lot of them are, you know, again, things that I really love. Yeah. I'm very nostalgic for. But that nature running amok, there was just an explosion of those films. I don't think a lot of people think or what I've read online is that it was mostly based on the success of Jaws. Yeah. I don't really, and Jaws wasn't necessarily, oh, there's a chemical in the ocean that made the shark big. Right. And now he's pissed off. No, it was just the horror of Jaws is like, this is a shark. It's going to kick your ass. And that's it. It doesn't. Right. It's not anything we did, but after Jaws, people started putting that spin on things, and it's pollution. You know, it's toxic waste creeping into the garbage cans or the trash, and then you get like giant roaches and things. But we're gonna probably hit a lot of these nature revolts films, because I'm gonna force you to watch them, just because I love them, and it might be torture for you, Brian, but we're going to go through them. And it'll kind of go with the theme of, you know, riding out that apocalypse.
I think so. And I think that that about does it for us on this episode. But I think you've established a wonderful precedent, because I think that I can be the voice of the audience in this case, because just like them, I will be asking, Jason, what are you doing to us this week? And I think it's going to be a great ride. So, guys, thanks for listening to the first episode of Riders of the Apocalypse. I've been Brian.
I'm Jason.
Have a good night.
Peace.
Next time on Riders of the Apocalypse.
Hey, man, look what I found outside. It fell off an army truck.
Oh, shit. For real?
Yeah, it's this big green barrel. Check it out. It says Property Department of the Army in case of emergency, call, and then there's a number here.
Dude, you rolled that into my house.
Yeah. You don't want to take it? I just want to see what's going on. There's a window on top, too.
Dude, get that thing out of here.
Is that a dead person?
Yes.
I'm going to open it.
Jesus Christ.